You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the fallout from that extremely cold-ass game they played on Saturday night between the Chiefs and the Dolphins. And, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about this weekend, Sunday evening, 5:30 Central Time. The Chiefs have to go into Orchard Park and play the Buffalo Bills. I can't wait for that game because not only is it Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes playing each other, but the fact that it's in Buffalo this time and it's not going to be in Kansas City, I think that just adds something different. And there is some weather headed in that direction, but I think they're going to be good for the game, at least from the standpoint of weather actually taking place during the game. But it's going to affect some things like practices this week. But this is pretty wild, folks. We know that game. Look, the Chiefs-Dolphins game was much colder than that Buffalo game. I mean, it was colder by a good 20 degrees, I believe it was, right around in there. And you see this from ABC 12 right here. 69 people had to get medical attention because of the weather in that game. And I guess we're talking about fans, maybe staff too. But emergency services in Kansas City rendered aid to 69 people, many for, quote, hypothermia symptoms during the Chiefs' Super Wildcard playoff win over the Miami Dolphins on Saturday, a fire department chief told CNN. Conditions at Arrowhead Stadium during the Chiefs' 26-7 win were tough for players and coaches to deal with, as well as fans. The temperature at kickoff was -4 degrees Fahrenheit, with a wind chill of 20 degrees, making it the fourth coldest game in NFL history, according to CNN. At the end of the game, the temperature was -9 degrees and felt like -28 degrees, according to the Peacock broadcast. Yikes. And while players could be seen huddling by pitch-side heaters, and many made the most of heated benches in a bid to keep out of the cold, fans had to wrap up warm as they watched from the stands. However, emergency services in the area were required to look after a number of people whom the below-zero temperatures were too much. The Kansas City Fire Department gave aid to 69 people, close to 50% for hypothermia. During the game, KCFD Battalion Chief Michael Hopkins told CNN 15 of the patients were transported by KCFD, 7 for hypothermia, 3 for frostbite, and 5 for various other reasons, said Hopkins, so I guess taken to the hospital. The KC metro area has plunged into a deep freeze below zero temperatures for much of the past weekend, including the Chiefs game, said University of Kansas Healthcare System news release. Guys, I can tell you right here in Texas, today is the first day we have hit 30 degrees in, I believe, 4 or 5 days. And by 30 degrees, I mean literally 30 degrees. I didn't say above freezing. We're not there yet. But I got up this morning, it was 9 degrees. We don't see 9 degrees in East Texas. We just don't. I think the last time we even flirted with that was maybe 3 years ago. And then before that, it had been, I don't know how many years. The medical system, which provides first aid at Arrowhead Stadium, has not yet released data on the patients during the game. Quote, at the time, we were waiting approval for the KC Chiefs to release the number of patients treated at the 7 aid stations at the stadium and various types of conditions treated. According to the hospital, since Tuesday, January 9th, there have been 59 patients treated due to harsh conditions for shortness of breath, exposure, heart attack from exertion, motor vehicle accidents, slipping, and falling in ice. And I think that's around the Kansas City area. I don't know. So that brings us to this. Florio posted this just a little while ago, and this is more heavy snow headed to Orchard Park. Days after a major winter storm hit Buffalo in advance of a home playoff game, a major winter storm will hit Buffalo in advance of a home playoff game. A lake effect snow warning has been put in place through Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, with 1 to 3 feet expected and possible local accumulations for more than 4 feet, with winds that will gust over 40 miles an hour, creating snow drifts and whiteouts. The good news is no snow is in the forecast for Sunday, with only morning snow expected on Saturday. The bad news is unless they plan to offer something more than $20 an hour and free cocoa and frankfurters for shovelers, fans who paid good money for tickets might have to deal with the aftermath of Mother Nature's personal seat license when getting to and sitting in their seats. Well, by the way, I heard something earlier, and I can't, it was on Fox News, but there is not an article out yet. But evidently, several of those shovelers had to be treated for medical attention for frostbite, I believe is what they came out and said. Now, the temperatures weren't nearly as cold as KC, but they're shoveling snow, so it's on their hands or wherever, anything that's exposed with all that coldness in the snow or ice, you can look at frostbite. I said, I'm not becoming a weatherman on this channel, but you realize this past weekend, look, when an NFL game gets postponed, that's one of the biggest stories you will see because you just don't see it. All right, an NFL game literally get postponed or moved and or canceled. I mean, it's massive news. It just doesn't happen. And before the pandemic, I can't remember the last time it had happened. I mean, the one thing we see now is like these lightning delays and things like that. And, growing up, I don't even remember those happening. In the 80s and the 90s, I'm like, a lightning? They just got out and played in a thunderstorm, if I could remember correctly. I can remember many a game in a torrential downpour. Hell, the Niners and Bears played in a flood to open not this season, but last season in Chicago. It was a flood. They got out there and played, It's, again, not an issue with the temperatures, as you saw with Kansas City and the Dolphins. In Buffalo was an issue of, can people get to and from the stadium okay? Even if they would have had a domed game, my dog's going nuts. Even if we'd had a domed game there, the game would have got postponed regardless. It was not an issue of the players being able to get on the field and play. Yeah, they could clean the field off and get out there and play and let them go. They're paid millions of dollars. I'm all for it. But the staff and the fans could not literally have seen to gotten to the game. I think I showed a couple of photos in one of those videos, but it was wild the way it looked up there, kind of like it looked here a couple of days ago. We've got snow on the ground right now in Texas. It's wild. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.